All right, hello team. How are you?
Good.
Doing good.
Good. Good. And yourself?
Good.
Yep.
All right, now I got to remember to take you off of Bluetooth.
Must be ready. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you?
Doing well.
Doing well.
All right,
Good, and
Kim will be on in 2 seconds. We just messaged each other. And what I'd love for you guys to do is think of your questions. So she's going to be kind of going through a little bit of her story and her experience. And I just want to give her an opportunity to share her story, but also want it to be as interactive as possible. So don't be afraid to raise your hand or type something in the chat box. That didn't help. And hopefully we'll have a bit of an interactive session today as well. Okay.
Okay.
See if she has arrived. Well, I've got you guys on the phone and we're waiting for her to pop on. I have a few of you who have not registered for a meeting slot. That would be
Me.
okay. Go ahead and look on the announcements page and tell me what time you'd like to meet. Let's go ahead and get it firmed up so you don't end up with a slot that you don't like.
Okay.
Okay. So if you look on the announcements page, I have now the Tuesday session is not available. I think I could delete that. Am I able to delete that little message? Tuesday session is not available, and Friday from 11:30 is not available. Any of the other ones, go ahead and let me know if you would like those slots, okay? All right. I believe Kim is in. Kim, can you hear me? There she is.
Hi, Bill.
The star of the show. Okay. I'll give you a real quick introduction with Kim, and then I'm going to let her take the floor. So Kim and I have been colleagues at KW Roswell for probably about, what, eight and a half years or so?
Yep.
Is that about right? Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So we spent many hours together in the big room over here in the original side, and I've watched Kim grow her business, and proud to call her a friend. Or I don't think she liked me at the beginning, to be frank, but we've warmed up to each other, and we've probably spent a couple hours on the phone together this week just talking about all the things going on in the world. And I'm just grateful for your insight and for your friendship and for our professional relationship. And Kim is an ALC member, Agent Leadership Council member. So if you have any questions about her role on that, hopefully she'll mention a couple things today. And she's also our social equity ambassador. So I'm going to let her go into some detail about what that means and what responsibilities you have and the impact that you're aiming to make. And I also want to give you the forum today to receive any ideas or suggestions or complaints that anyone might want to share with you. So really what I'd love to do, Kim has served, she's worked on a team before. She also now runs and owns a team. She has experimented with leverage. She has is a multiple-time Bold graduate. She is just a great real estate agent. So I want to give her the opportunity to share her story and her background. And while she's speaking, please jot down any questions you may have, and we'll give you some time at the end or throughout to throw them out there and let Kim give you guys some advice on your businesses. So Kim, just so you know, the room is full of a couple of experienced agents, but the majority of the agents on the call are either brand new or new within a couple of months. So I'm going to ask you to be thinking about some advice that you would give agents in that situation, and some of the values and the foundations that you've kind of centered your business around. The floor is yours.
Okay, awesome. I see one familiar face. Hi, Kim. How are you? And I know they're muted, so I'll talk. And can you unmute them in case they want to ask questions or?
Yeah, they have the ability to unmute. I'm not
Cool.
governing that.
Okay. All right. So, thanks for the introduction, Bill. As Bill stated, I've been with Keller Williams almost 9 years now, and that was when I started in real estate. So this is, the one firm that I've learned all my experience from. I did have the opportunity to interview with several firms before I decided to go with Keller Williams, but I felt that the values, the way the company was set up, fit with, the person that I am as far as God, family, business. So that is one of the things that has kind of stuck with me as I established myself in real estate. I came from a entrepreneurial background, so music and entertainment, nonprofit work. So the way I set up my business kind of stayed in line with that kind of system. I look at my real estate business as a relationship business. So a lot of the business that I do comes out of relationships, whether it's social engagement, with people, or if it's kind of my lifestyle of community service work and things like that. That's how I generate my clients. So when I started at Keller Williams, I was a little apprehensive of using my relationships in real estate because I had a totally different background with nonprofit work and marketing and things like that, and entertainment. So what I did was, when I got into real estate, found something called Opportunity Desk. So when I came into Keller Williams Roswell, no one was using the Opportunity Desk. It was a blank calendar. And I decided to tackle that and build my name up with all the openings because it was empty. And I was able to generate my first 6 leads and 6 closings that year through Opportunity Desk. Needless to say, after that year, Opportunity Desk was no longer empty because people caught wind that you could actually generate business from that. And ever since then, Opportunity Desk has been, filled to capacity in most months since I started. But it is a way to help, generate leads and get some momentum going so that you can build your business. So it's still a good idea once you kind of make it through Ignite, if you haven't already done that, and I'm not sure where everybody is, but to take those 2 days those 2 kind of slots that you can get from Opportunity Desk. And I think the calendar for July came out yesterday. So it's usually first come, first serve. So get your 2 slots. And then, I think the other thing about success at Keller Williams is information. So if you have the information, you can be more successful. So the thing with Opportunity Desk is that first day, get your 2 slots. If the next day there's slots available, go grab them. Some people just take the 2 and run, but if you go back that next day and there's still space available, grab as many as you want because that's the rules, So I think information is powerful when it comes to KW because it just seems like there's resources and information that could be overwhelming, but there's also information that could be helpful. And to know as much as you can about how Keller Williams works will help you benefit from the resources that are available. We are independent contractors, so you are building a business and, you can't really expect all the information to be given to you, but it is there if you go look for it or, find somebody that may have the answers. I think that's the beautiful benefit of AOC is that there are people on AOC that can be resourceful and are willing to help. That's one of the, reasons why people, that have the opportunity to be on AOC join so that they could share their resources, share their knowledge to help other people's business. So as Bill mentioned, I have had experience on a team. My experience on a team is, it is unique because I wasn't recruited for a team. I kind of, I guess you would consider it, earned a space on a team through my work. So I was given opportunity from one of the teams to do some of their rental leads that they did not want, and turn those leads around, because ultimately rental leads lead to buyers at some point. So you kind of think that, oh, a $250 rental doesn't add up, but they do, because especially if you're not making any money, if you have five to $250, rentals, you got a couple $1,000s. And I think Bill can contest to that, because I know Bill has done a lot in the rental space.
Yeah, man, that I remember that original side. It was basically me and you for years working those rental leads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I did rentals, and one of the largest teams in the office decided to give me leads that they didn't want, and I turned those around. And based off that, they asked me, did I want to be on their team? And at that time, my price point was probably around $200,000. So I thought that joining a team would give me the opportunity, especially a team like that. That was, the largest team in the office at that time. They were doing like 48 million a year. I feel like that would be a good opportunity for me to, one, learn what the hell they were doing to generate that volume of money, and then two, reap some of the benefits if I could turn whatever opportunity I was given into a way to make more income and increase my price point from 200,000 to which my goal was to get it to 350, which is my average price point now. So I was on a team for 4 years. I was at that time a top buyer's agent in the office when I left that team. But it was a good experience for me to kind of learn what they were doing, learn the business, get an opportunity to taste that higher price point. It was with the team that I was able to get my first $1 million closing. And pretty much every year since then, I've been able to do at least $1 million closing, probably with the exception of last year. But typically I would get, and I had a $1 million deal. It just fell apart. So it's not that I didn't have access to it, but it didn't close. So, but other years after joining the team, I have had that taste and experience of having $1 million deal. So that's one of my priorities every year, is to do a $1 million sale. And that check is beautiful. That check is beautiful. So once you get a taste of it, you don't want to go back. So I always try to get at least one.
It's even more beautiful when you're not on the team and you get all of it, right?
Exactly. Yeah, that is true. So what I say about teams. So I think, in my personal opinion, for agents starting out that don't have a database and don't have resources to market, a team is a good option just for a learning experience, to kind of learn the business, get your feet wet, get the momentum going, and then, kind of build from there. For me, my decision to leave its team was twofold. It was, one, my team decided to leave Keller Williams, and I wasn't ready to leave Keller Williams. I still felt like I had some things to do at Keller Williams, which I understand now. And then at that point in time, I was doing about 50-50. So 50% of my business was generated from me, and 50% of my business was generated from the team. So it kind of like balanced itself off, and I felt like I could take the leap of faith and move forward and be able to regenerate the business that I would lose if I left. So that's what I did. And, it's been an interesting experience to kind of I don't want to say start over, but basically I did have to start over and, regenerate business a different way and kind of develop my clientele after I left the team. But the experience that I got from the team, how they operated, how they use systems, how they provided customer service on a higher level for that higher price point, um, helped me to kind of generate how I wanted to do business. So I am a member of KW Luxury. So I do target higher price clientele, but I also do business on all levels. Um, so last year I started leveraging and hired an assistant. Hopefully this year I'll be able to add, someone else to my team and, be able to do business on that next level that I need to go to as far as where I'm at right now. I have been on ALC a couple years. I thought it was important for me to be on ALC to kind of give a different voice to the ALC. I am probably the first African, I know I am the first African American on the ALC, but I take that, as an honor to be able to, use my voice to provide a different perspective to the ALC and leadership at Keller Williams. So that has led to the role as social equality ambassador, which we are still in the process of kind of navigating, what that means and how can people share their voice and experiences to help make Keller Williams a better company to work for, even though it is a great company to work for right now as independent contractors. I feel like, and obviously leadership feels like that we can do better. So that's the goal of the ambassador program, is to kind of identify ways where Keller Williams as a whole, real estate as an industry, can do better. So I'll stop talking.
Cool. Let me throw a couple things. I want to steer the conversation a couple different ways. Can you talk to me about what a lot of our agents right now are facing is just basically just a huge overwhelm of all the things they got to do to build a business, right? It's all the learning part of the business, it's the technology part of the business, it's the day-to-day activity part of the business, it's obviously the contracts and the lead gen and all that stuff. What would be your advice to an agent that's trying to deal with all the stuff that Keller Williams offers? And maybe you can help them break it down, in your opinion, break it down into kind of manageable chunks. What kind of advice would you give for that?
Okay, so did everybody do a 30, 60, 90 kind of conversation with Lucy?
There's probably been there may have been a little fallout just because of COVID and not being able to come into the office and all of that stuff. But
Okay.
what she's referring to is essentially a list that you were given when you onboarded. That is what's called a 30, 60, 90. It's the activities that we believe you should be doing in the first 30 days, next 30 days, and final 30 days. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I think that's a good starting point when you are new to the business, is that 30, 60, 90, because it kind of gives you like a guideline of, what things you need to do as far as establishing yourself as a realtor. So if you haven't received that, I would say reach out to Lucy via email and ask her to email you that 30, 60, 90 so you can take a look at it. I think the approach that I took was, number one, yes, we do need education. We passed the test, and now what, right? So Keller Williams gives you, the opportunity to learn either in office or online. So Keller Williams University has anything you can imagine as far as information that you would need as you kind of grow your business and try to find your niche. But I would say first, put that 30, 60, 90 in place to get all the kind of ducks in a row as far as, business cards, business, banking, setting up your bank account, knowing what company you want, to have, how to structure that company. Is it an LLC, a sole proprietor? Make sure you have an accountant, those type of things to put in place to have a foundation to build a business. I think one of the things realtors kind of get stuck in is deciding whether they want to be a sole proprietor or a business, right? Because if you're a business, you're setting up the business with all the tools like an accountant and a bank account and profit and loss statements and things like that, that Keller Williams can help you structure. But sometimes we just get caught up in trying to get a deal done or not getting a deal done, so that we don't have the structure in place so that we can grow. I think my first year, I was so desperate to do business that's all I focused on is, trying to find a way to get a deal. And later on, I kind of figured out, hey, you know what? I need to have these tools in place to make sure my taxes are right, because I don't want to end up, as a contractor, not having my taxes ready to be paid in April and having to come up with that, big chunk of money to pay to the IRS because I hadn't established like quarterly payments or something like that. So getting a business structure or having a foundation for success is important. So just making sure that is in play. And I think the 30, 60, 90 helps with that. And then kind of setting goals, because the luxury of the business is that, once you get in year 2 or 3, you figured out that you can kind of make it in the business. You have to kind of set goals that accomplish the type of lifestyle you want to live through the business, right? Because the luxury of real estate is you can kind of define, what type of business you want to have, how much money you want to make, and what type of lifestyle you want to live based off of that money. So goals are important. So initially establishing a niche, I use mine as a lifestyle determinant to say, okay, these are the things that I do on a daily basis. Here are ways that I can find business. But each individual kind of has to put that together on their own based off of their lifestyle and their kind of focus or niche.
Can you go into a little bit more detail? What's a day in the life of Kim look like?
So a day in the life of Kim, right now in COVID. So I wake up probably around 6:30 or 7. I do some meditation, I do some yoga, I go for a walk, and then I come back and check messages, return emails. I try to make phone calls at least an hour, maybe 2 hours during the day, just to touch base with past clients, present clients, and follow up on opportunities that people might have referred to me. And then after that, if I have appointments, I try to do those appointments on certain days during certain times because I am a single mom. So I'll split up time for appointments. I try to be done with any type of calls by 6 o'clock so that I can spend the rest of the time with my son. But sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, just depends on how busy I am. But I definitely use time blocking to kind of give myself, some breathing time and some personal time. So time blocking is important. And
so do you have like,
go
ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just saying the luxury of the real estate business is you kind of set your own schedule because you're your own boss, right? So if you set your time wisely to where it is impactful and generates revenue, then you can be as free as you want to be. But if you're not in that position, then you have to, really go hard to figure out where that business is going to come from, whether it's a combination of referrals, paid advertising if you can afford that, or some other type of lead generation that you do to generate those leads. So right now it's COVID. So guess what? We can't go out to events as much, but we can go to events like this, right? So I'm doing a lot more Zoom events and meetings and things like that to kind of do that networking that I normally would do outside in the social setting. I'm doing more education right now, taking classes, getting certifications, learning more about personal development, business development. So that's kind of a lot of the stuff that I've been doing since we've kind of been quarantined. I still am in some form of quarantine because I don't go outside unless it's necessary. And in my case, that's to, show property or closings or groceries, right? So other than that, I'm still in the house. So with all that time that I'm in the house and all the money that I'm saving from not going out and spending, I'm, investing that in education, self-improvement, things like that. So
we had a question about your weekly schedule. Is there anything that you like? I usually refer to it as like a big rock, like the things that you have to get done every week, or let me ask you a different way. If I was a seller or buyer prospect of yours, and I wanted to meet with you, do you have, like, when you say you time block for appointments, do you have like in your calendar the times that you're aiming to secure those appointments so that you can fulfill all your other commitments outside of real estate?
Yeah. So I'm not trying to do appointments after 3 o'clock.
All right, say that one more time.
I do not strive to have any appointments after 3 o'clock.
Can everyone hear her, or is that just me?
No, I can't hear her.
Oh, I said I strive not to have appointments after.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
All right,
She
Kim.
said she said she strives to not have too many appointments in the afternoon. But
Yes.
yeah, I don't know what changed. But
It's like a muffled sound.
All right, Kim, I'm gonna mute you and then unmute you. Okay, try again.
Okay.
No, still having the issue.
Kim, talk for us. I don't know what happened.
Go out back in.
Yeah, that'd be good. All right, Kim's gonna leave and come right back. Let's see if we can figure it out. She's being very, what's the word I'm looking for? Modest.
Transparent and modest. Well, that's Kim.
Yeah. All right. I think she's coming back. All right, let's try it again, Kim.
Okay.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah. Okay. So I try not to set any appointments later than 3 p.m. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't, but that's my goal, is to not take any appointments after 3. Just because I don't like rush hour traffic and I want to be at home by 6 for my kid. So
what happens if I want to meet with you at 6:30 or something? How do you handle that?
I try to find a time that works for both of us. So if 6:30 does not work for me,
which is code for a time that works for you.
Yep. I found out early on, there's nothing like putting yourself in an inconvenience and then being disappointed. So I try to seek times that are beneficial or convenient to me. And hopefully it works out for the other person, or we try to find a time that works for both of us. So if they're insisting on 7 o'clock on Friday and that's not convenient to me, then I give them some options for Saturday or Monday, or another day that might work. But I just personally don't like to schedule appointments too late, except for like especially during the school year, because then the later I get home, the later my kid stays up, right? So I try to make sure that I am home, meals cooked, and I get him to bed at a certain time. And then I can do business after that, like if it's phone or email or something. But as far as just being out.
And so in a crazy way, it actually, Zoom makes this easier sometimes.
Yep. Now Zoom is an option, and you can have your consultations with buyers on Zoom, or your listing appointments with sellers on Zoom.
Yeah. I want to try to catch some of the questions for everyone. Are there any certifications that you've achieved or you're aiming to achieve that you think are driving income specifically for your business? That's from Kimberly Liptrot.
So I have I think certifications help you kind of understand your clientele better in certain instances. So I have a senior designation, so that I have a better understanding from that class of how and what seniors are going through, meaning your elderly population, when they're having to leave their house, right, because of age or health or death or those type of things. It gives me that empathetic understanding of how to kind of navigate for them and understand what resources are available for them. So certifications can help you be a better realtor. And they can be used as a marketing tool, but when people see those letters, they don't really know what they mean. You're gonna be like, AHW certification, da 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 da, and they're like, what is that? But you as a realtor understand that there's thousands of realtors out here, right? But you have to, find out what you're passionate about and get a better understanding of that consumer so that you can give them the best service. So the designations help you establish, what level of service you need to be providing to that type of clientele to be able to understand how you can help them best. Because really, at the end of the day, a realtor is a resource provider. That's all we are. We provide resources. We provide buyers with the best resources on loans and the best house that meets their needs as far as investment. Yep. Right? For the sellers, we provide them a service. We provide all the vendors they need to get their house prepared, to be able to list and sell for the highest price that they can get. So we're really liaisons of resources. So if you want to be the best realtor, you got to have the best resources. You got to have the best education. And then being able to market that and let people understand what your value proposition is.
Right. And, so much of it is also, let's say somebody doesn't know what the curriculum of the senior certification is, but your client is a senior and you share with your client that you've got the senior certification, they're going to automatically wonder if the other guy has that. And if they didn't talk about it, or it's not on their business card, or it's not on their email signature, then they assume they don't have it, and that puts you back in the lead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I also have a at home with diversity certification, which is all about diversity, right? So we deal with a lot of different clientele from different backgrounds, from different countries, cultures. So that certification can help you get a better understanding of different cultures, how they do business, how you negotiate with them, understanding what their cultural norms are and what type of housing that they are looking for, so that you can better serve them. I have a diverse clientele. So I have clients that need east-facing homes, right? And you're like, well, why do they need an east-facing house? But if you understand the cultural norms,
they need what type of house?
And all the different things that kind of come into play when they're finding a home, then something like at home with diversity. Huh?
What type of
home
home did you say they
east-facing.
Oh, east-facing. Yeah, of course.
East-facing.
I've been there.
Yeah. Yes. We looked at hundreds of houses, but they had to have an east-facing house, with bedroom in a certain place in the house, different things like that, that they weren't going to buy unless they found that, right? So you got to have that kind of empathy or compassion to know that you don't just want to sell them on what you want to sell them on. You want to find what fits their family needs and cultural needs for them to, live their best life. So
I remember learning.
So the
that
at home with diversity can certification helps with that, and it also kind of looks at barriers to home buying and things like that, that, you know, different cultures face or different ethnic groups face when in a home buying arena. So that's one of my certifications. And then, like I said, I have a luxury designation from Keller Williams to deal with
Somebody asked a
higher.
question about how do you differentiate between the service you provide, or what major differences or challenges do you face, if any, working with luxury versus non-luxury clients?
So there's a difference in, there's not a difference in service, because you want to provide the best service to all clients, whether it's the renter or a luxury client. I think there's a difference in investment from a marketing perspective that you might have for a luxury client versus a different price point. When it comes down to trying to make sure that that luxury property is being seen by potential buyers in their arena. So say, for example, you might invest in some higher price point advertising. There's definitely a difference in signage that Keller Williams offers for luxury agents. So by paying for that designation and meeting the requirements of that designation, then you have access to those tools that are different than the regular Keller Williams tools that kind of give, you know, just like a more expensive, luxurious experience in selling.
Right.
So they use something called global, what is it?
Global property specialist, I think is what it's called.
Yeah, global property specialist, so you can advertise internationally for the house. And then they have different publications that are available to advertise the property in that go out all over the country that you can advertise in. So you put a little bit more investment in trying to get a higher price property sold with the Keller luxury designation than you would if it was just a regular price point.
Right. It's like you said, it's more resources and it's more tools. And with those more tools and resources, you can provide a better experience. Okay. How do you, what system do you have in place to ensure that you're up to speed on all the market trends?
So I'm I don't want to consider myself an avid reader, but I'm an avid resource information intaker.
But she's learning based. You're learning based.
Yes.
You can't help yourself.
You always have to be learning based. You can't stop learning when it comes to, well, life in general, but then real estate, especially because the market changes constantly. So I subscribe to a lot of different websites and get information that's happening, say in Atlanta or in Georgia or in the US about housing. I attend seminars and go to events that are aimed towards housing. I am on the Atlanta Realtors Association Emerging Leaders class of 2020. So it's a requirement that we serve on committees and, you know, share information and experience as well from that platform. So you can get involved with, you know, your local realtor board and, you know, learn in that type of environment. I think that's a luxury of Keller Williams is you could actually just get caught up in Keller Williams learning, right? Yeah. And not have to learn anything else that's going on outside Keller Williams. But I think to have a good kind of foundation on, you know, just general real estate learning and what is provided in KW, but also going outside to a board or some other type of organization that's real estate related to kind of learn what's happening in other areas. That's a good idea too.
So I want to save some time at the end to talk about your new role, but I'm sure you knew I was going to bring this up. But what has Bold done for you, Kim?
Okay, and then I'll answer some of these questions because I didn't see them.
Yeah.
So what has Bold done for me? So I recently did Bold Pivot.
Have you ever had anyone in your life that just like requested for months on end for you to participate in Bold?
Yes, that would be you, Bill. So, so I think for me at that time, Bill, I just felt like I couldn't, with all the things that I was doing, I just couldn't. I didn't feel like I could put bold in my put a bold as an agenda item for me at that time. And then I said, you know what, Bill, look, bold gets out at 3 o'clock, and I got to pick my kid up at 2:45. And he was like, leave, go pick him up and bring him back. So when I took bold, I left at 2:30, ran and got my kid, and I brought him back, and he was with me in bold, you know, till bold was over. So I had, you know, to step outside my comfort zone as far as like, you know, bringing my son is probably a part of all my business, but just bringing him in that atmosphere with all those people to say, okay, hey, you know what, let's go sit over here and let's listen to the rest of this. I had to make that kind of shift in thinking to say that, you know what, this is how I'm doing business. This is what I'm doing. This is my situation. So if they're comfortable with it, I'm comfortable with it. And I took my kid to bold, right? So I think the benefits of, and I'm not selling you on bold because I'm not a salesman, okay? But the benefits that I received from bold gave me just like a boost, you know, because sometimes people come into real estate in a situation, or they're looking for a way to change their lifestyle and improve their family situation, but they just don't know how to do it, but they want to do it. Bold kind of gives you like an outline to change your mental, shift your mental state to understand that what you can accomplish by doing certain things. Now, it gives you all the options. So lead generation could be from, you know, cold calling. It opens you up to make uncomfortable calls if you're not somebody that's good on the phone. It makes you rethink how you can reach people to let them know that you are in real estate so that you can kind of develop your kind of core audience of people. It helped me to kind of connect with what I was already reading in a sense, or knew in a sense, to actually, it kind of forces you to put that stuff into action, right? Because we all know how to generate business, right? But we may be uncomfortable in one area and comfortable in the other, but we're not giving ourselves the full opportunity to use all our resources to help generate leads or generate business. So both kind of puts you in a position where you have to take action, and you have to take it then, and you're accountable to a group of people that want to hear from you and know that you're reaping the benefits of that action. So it's almost like you got your own little cheerleading squad to help you navigate through and generate leads and ultimately make money.
I thought it was pretty cool how you did it, like what I guess it was now 6 years ago. And I said, hey, Kim, you got to do it again. You got to do it again. And you're like, I've done it. And then, so you finally, you came kicking and, what's the word? Yelling and screaming or whatever, kicking and screaming. And like after the first day, she's like, I planned a trip. I'm like, what are you going to the beach? She's like, no, I'm going to Japan. Right. I said, oh my gosh, when was the last time you planned a trip like this? And she said 5 years ago, which was the last time she was in bold. So I just thought that was so cool how it's not necessarily about whether you learn a new script to deal with a FSBO. It's the way that your mind changes when you sit in the room with these people. And I just think that's an awesome story. And I'm proud of you for bringing your son, because, you know, imagine that you didn't do that and you sat and watched people's lives changing because of their relationship with bold. There's almost going to be this like resentment that your son's around and he prevented you from being there. And I didn't want anything to do with that. That's why I pushed you. Okay. I want to give ample time to talk about your new initiatives. So what made you raise your hand and inquire about this new role, and how do you see your involvement and all the people that you're going to get an opportunity to meet and interact with. What are we hoping to accomplish? Give us some background, if you would, please.
Okay, and then you want me to answer those questions?
Yeah,
On
you've
the Zoom
answered a
chat?
few of them, but
Okay.
yeah, well,
Okay. So as you know, Bill, I have since being in Keller Williams Roswell, always kind of tried to be a voice of the unheard or the invisible. So that hasn't been something new to me. 2018, I did a diversity mastermind at the office just to kind of get more dialogue around inclusivity and just trying to find a way to help retention levels for African Americans in the Keller Williams Roswell office. So that has always been a passion for me, to see more people that look like me thriving and living the dreams that real estate can provide to anyone that wants to do the hard work. So when and to be honest, I always had a dream of a head director of diversity at Keller Williams. I never said anything to you about that, Bill, but I've always dreamed that there would be a diversity and inclusion officer at Keller Williams in the leadership, right? So when, COVID happened, and then, the magnifying deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery, it left, not only a gaping hole in my heart, but, people that do business in every facet of American life on a daily basis. So I think people were trying to figure out, hey, if I can't march, what can I do, right? So there's people marching, there's people, having conversations in spaces like this, in business that they do, to try to figure out, what can we do better? So from my perspective, there was kind of a conversation in certain groups where African-American Keller Williams agents were looking to hear from Gary Keller, right? So they made their voices heard, and Gary Keller has an open ear. So he responded accordingly with the letter that he wrote, and everybody received around issues that he wasn't aware of, that if there are issues at Keller Williams, that he's willing to address those issues, right? Because he built a company, a tech educational real estate company that is one of the best in the world and a leader in the industry. And he wanted to address whatever issues that might be in-house, which are in the Keller Williams family, as well as impact industry change. So out of that came the KW Quality Ambassador Task Force. So every office has the opportunity, even though offices are independently owned, to support a task force lead to find out what issues may be happening within that particular office, and be able to address those with the task force regionally, and then the regional office can address it on a national level. So I'm the ambassador for the KW Roswell office. The GOG group will have an officer from each office, and they are represented in the Southeast region under Cheryl Sidoti. And so we've had 2 meetings. We had one yesterday, and we're still kind of establishing what that means as far as what our roles and responsibilities are. But, as we're trying to figure that out, things are happening, right? So, yesterday a letter went out. If you did Bold Pivot, there was a lot of chat and activity in Bold Pivot that was not Keller Williams like.
Not in culture.
that's a
Not in culture.
very
Yes, not at
diplomatic
all.
way of saying it.
Not at all in culture, and left a lot of people uncomfortable, and some people kind of voluntarily left that group. But ultimately they decided, it was going to close down anyway for the new Bold and they just decided to close down abruptly just to stop what, fire was lighting the flame that wasn't going to burn out, so they did close that down, and they sent out a letter. I did share that letter on the Roswell Rocks page, just to kind of keep people in the loop, because they're, people are running businesses, and that's what we ultimately want to do, is to run a business. But, we also want to feel comfortable that the money that we're spending and earning for people is appreciated and valued. So that's kind of hopefully what the outcome will be of the task force. And I think some real kind of honest conversations on, how everybody has an equal, we already have, right, equality in a sense, right, with different laws that were passed or whatever, but access to equity, comes with challenges. Home ownership comes with challenges. And I think as you guys continue to grow your business, you'll experience those challenges on behalf of your clients, right? But you want to be the best resource, once again, you can be to your client by understanding how to overcome a lot of those obstacles. So, and if we can get them out of the way, let's get some of the obstacles out of the way. So, I'm excited about the opportunity for the task force to kind of see what change can happen. I also feel a little bit overwhelmed because, not only as a realtor and dealing with the tasks that I deal with as a realtor to navigate to make sure I can do business, I also, have to navigate the task of being an African-American, single mom, and navigating for my son, and, so there's a lot to that. So hopefully the opportunity to kind of lead some change won't be overwhelming and unhealthy. So I'm trying to make sure I balance, what I'm doing and what I feel like when I cannot do, to be honest about I can't do it. For example, I think a week ago, one of our realtors, Heather, had a client that had just bought a house in Canton, and, they came outside and, nigger was written on the car, right? So Heather wanted to do something about that, and they reached out to me to kind of say, okay, how can we kind of help and navigate this? And it's like, hey, well, I don't want to hear this on a Sunday morning, like I'm in my space of peace and love, and then I see this text in my phone that says nigger, and I'm like, ugh, like, this is a lot.
They didn't really want to see that either, did they?
Yeah, they didn't want to see it either. So I'm like, shit, like, I would say, hey, Heather, talk to, the clients and kind of get a feeling for where they are and what, what they need help with. And then let's talk about it and see how we can help them. Of course, hopefully the police are involved and they can kind of figure that piece out. But just from a space of, do you want to stay in that property? Are you comfortable in that neighborhood? What else is the neighborhood saying? Just kind of asking some questions that she can go back and get information. And she was able to get, good information. She set up a GoFundMe and raised some money for them to help navigate not just that piece, because that required just painting, but just to give them a sense of support and understanding so that, they know that they're not alone in that situation, and that, there are good people, and Keller Williams is a company that stands behind good people. So I think we did a good job of helping navigate that. And I hope, that family feels the support of Keller Williams as a company. And so it's a lot of moving parts. So it's not like I'm sure of all the things that I am supposed to be doing, but I am up to the challenge of learning and understanding, and also taking on challenges that I know that I can support. So actually, this morning, I had a meeting at McMichael and Gray. As a member of the ALC, we had the opportunity to help select an additional law firm to add to Keller's the GLG family as a partner. And one of those companies that interviewed was McMichael and Gray. And the other one was Campbell and Brannan. And just from my perspective, I like doing business, if possible, with people that look like me. So in researching Campbell and Brannan and also researching McMichael and Gray, they had very little diversity in the form of attorneys. So that was something that I questioned in the ALC meeting as the only African-American on the ALC of the 3 GLG offices, which was, a tough question to ask, but both attorneys did answer the question, and one felt like he didn't answer it to his best of his ability, so he wanted to meet with me after that. So we met this morning. We had a good conversation about how he responded to the question that I asked. And he is open and willing to address the concern that I had. So we had a good meeting. We talked about it, and I was intentional on creating a space where any question could be asked, right? Because a lot of times we have opinions about things that we really don't know firsthand. So we make assumptions and or act out of ignorance on issues that we may not be in a position to address. So I created a space where he could feel comfortable asking questions. And I think we did a good job of being honest about, what is happening even here at Keller Williams in his industry as an attorney with a successful law firm with 200 plus employees, and what's happening in the industry. So I think some good things will come out of that, just out of the conversation. And I think that is in line with the KW ambassador role as to create change in Keller Williams and the industry. So I'm excited about what opportunities will come out of that.
I'm just thankful that you had a seat at the table, right? To make sure that you could be representative for like you said, the people who may not feel that they're being heard on a consistent basis. I want to be respectful of your time. Do you have a couple more minutes?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So one thing I just want to piggyback on something Kim said is that while she's the leader and the representative, that doesn't mean that all the stuff has to come only from her, right? Her job is to collect all the viewpoints and the concerns and the issues of all of us, no matter what race we might be, and what troubles we might have faced and what troubles we might be experiencing, discrimination or any of that, and then take it to the people who can actually impact change. So thank you for that. And like I said, if you have any concerns with things you're seeing or hearing, I've never, when I was leading the office, we didn't tolerate that stuff. And we're not going to tolerate it in this little micro group that we've created here. So I appreciate everything you're doing. Let's spend a couple minutes going through some of these questions. Does anyone have any questions about Kim's role or anything they want to share right now? Okay.
What do you foresee as the role as far as what it's going to be moving forward? I mean, I realize it's very early on.
So today we have a call at 3 o'clock with the GOG ambassadors. So I think that conversation will be more definitive as far as what we do and impact locally. So I think the role is kind of like twofold. On one hand, we'll be kind of addressing local issues within the group. And then on a regional level, we'll take whatever information we have locally and take it to the region. And based off those comments from all the different regions, I think the KWRI will kind of develop almost a framework of what needs to be addressed, not so micro, but on a macro level. And then it'll be up to us local ambassadors to kind of either impact that and spread the word about that, but also address whatever the local issues are. So I think more of our work will be done locally versus nationally. But if there's some overall kind of ideas for change that need to happen on a national level, we'll kind of just be more of the liaison or intermediary for those conversations. So today's meeting at 3 with the other DOG ambassadors will kind of give us the framework for what we want to do as offices. Because some offices might not have any issues. Some offices might have some, so
I doubt there's a single office in the entire Keller Williams network that doesn't have something that needs to be addressed.
I'm trying to be positive, Bill. But they might not. But so we have to address it locally, really, whatever those core issues are as a group. I think Aubrey's done a good job of asking anyone if they want to help or if they have, concerns to kind of provide those. And if you want to provide those discreetly, you can do that. So that, your voice can be heard. I think the important thing right now is that everybody has a voice and to use it in a positive way to impact change. So if there is something you see or experience that you don't quite understand or do understand but don't like, then anybody has an opportunity to bring that to the table. So
yeah, that's awesome. Did somebody else have a question or a thought?
So I'll just kind of run through these questions.
I'll try to scan through these a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about whether do you feel that being on a team was beneficial to you in regards to becoming an expert on one side of the transaction?
Good question. So for me, I was hired as a buyer's agent, but I felt comfortable doing both sides of the transaction. So that's what I kind of fought for or advocated for. So instead of letting them say, hey, you know what, you're a buyer's agent, I said, no, I'll do the buyer side, right? But I also do listings. So I was able to say, this is what I want to do. So sometimes when you do, depending on who your kind of team leader is at that team, I think anything is negotiable, right? So you can negotiate how you want to do business with that team. I didn't want to just be a buyer's agent. I like listings too. So if I got a listing deal, I didn't hand it off to the listing person. So I have always been a disruptor.
I was about to say, like, you get what you tolerate, right?
Yeah, you get what you
tolerate
so
somebody, and I'm not saying this is good or bad or anything, but if you have a strong desire to list homes and the team you're on doesn't allow you to list homes, then you're at a crossroads. What's more important? Being on the team and working within their structure or creating your own structure? And there's not a right or wrong answer. It's just an awareness of how strongly you feel about something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was my experience. So I was hired as a buyer's agent, but I did work with buyers and sellers.
Yeah, it's not that a team wouldn't, Angela, it's not that a team wouldn't want you to list necessarily. It's that a lot of teams in kind of the KW model, if you will, seems to be a little bit more in specialization. So oftentimes the listing agent or the team owner, the listing side of the business is typically the very last thing that they give up. So they might hire administrative support and buyer agent support so that frees up their time to go do listings. And so when listings come to the team, they generally take those, and all the training and resources for the buyer support is generally geared towards the buyer. And they may have a little bit different of a commission breakdown if that lead came from you or if that lead came from, some type of lead generation source that the team was paying for. So again, that's why you go talk to 100 teams, you're going to find essentially 100 different ways that they're running their business. Not to mention the personality and the standards and the ethics and the values of the owner.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense?
Yep. And then I see a question about how do I determine the house is east facing, you can get an app on your phone that you can navigate from. And I use it at the front door of the house facing outward.
Right.
And that's kind of where I see where the house is facing based on that navigation app.
There are some leniencies I've learned, and some people in those cultures, it's not important at all. But I was just like bursting with curiosity one day, and I had become a little bit more friendly with one of these clients that it was important to. I said, "Can I just ask you a question? I don't want to offend you in any way, but what do the neighborhoods look like in your home country if all the homes have to face the same way?" Like, I didn't, I was trying not to be ignorant, but I was like, what do these neighborhoods look like? And it turns out, this is the answer he gave me, is it's not even necessarily the front door, it's the door that you enter the home in most often. So everyone's got a bit of a different take on it. So if you come from curiosity and you have some base knowledge about why that might not be important, it's impressive to your client because, again, you have resources.
And then I think that's important as well when you kind of have your buyer consultation, right?
Right.
Knowing what questions to ask to make sure that you aren't spinning your wheels and providing them properties that don't fit their needs, right? So there are criteria in FMLS that some people use as listing agents and some don't, but hopefully they do and tell you what direction the house is facing. So
yeah, just as a caveat, I would say maybe 20% of the agents fill that piece out, and probably 75% of those are wrong.
Yeah.
So me personally, I would just ignore that and then look on the map to see which way the house faces.
Yep.
You have to call the agent and say, okay, I'm going to walk in the door. Which quadrant of the house is the kitchen in? Right. And sometimes, again, if they tell you something's important and you take them to a home that doesn't match what they're asking for, not only is it a huge waste of time, but it's proof you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
And you're only going to get so many chances before the client drops you.
Yep. So I think another question was, so yes, the team was beneficial at that time in my career to learn the business, learn, their successes and help build my business as an agent and what type of service I wanted to provide. So they're really good on customer service, gifting, touches, all that good stuff that, is important to kind of establishing your systems.
I get a question on credit issues. Do you work with a firm that assists with that, or is that something you spent some time with?
So some people stay away from that stuff. So it's really kind of a choice of what you'd like to do. So I do have a credit repair person that I work with or refer people to at times if they need it. But usually I start with the lender first, right? So if they're not pre-qualified, I put them with a lender based off what they know about their credit to work with them and get the true picture, right? So if they say, hey, I got a 780 and I give them a list of lenders, they can kind of pick and choose. If they tell me they got a 600, I might say, hey, here's my list, but call such and such. And I try to always give two options if I can on certain situations so that they can talk to lenders that are familiar with those type of challenges and can help them achieve their goal of home ownership. Because the worst thing I could do is send them to a lender that I know only does 680 and I know they got a 620. Like, why would I lead them to defeat that quick, right?
Right, or send them to a lender that doesn't have any type of resources to help them or any compassion or interest in helping them.
Yeah, because there are lenders like that. And if they say, hey, you know what, I want down payment assistance, then why would I send them to a lender that doesn't offer down payment assistance? So you got to, research. You have to research and develop your resources, right? So all of you need to have a couple lenders. You need to keep a a couple contractors, a couple plumbers, a couple electricians, a couple foundation people, a couple painters, all these people in your resource pool, so that when you need something for your client and they say, hey, do you have this? Yep, I got it. Here you go. And you're able to provide them resources in a timely manner. Because we're resource providers, right?
That's right.
And one of the things I did learn from a team is hot potato, right? So once something gets in your lap, it's like a hot potato, but you want to get it out of your lap as quick as possible. So if somebody got a question, answer the question immediately. If somebody needs something, get it back to them quick. Don't let things kind of pile up to where it looks like the client is actually calling you for stuff instead of you calling your client for stuff.
I like that. Yeah, it's like you got a hot potato, so let's address it and then get them into some system that you've established to make life easy for you. Right? Your next step is talking to the lender system. You're in the I just wrote you a handwritten note, I'll call you in 2 days to make sure you got it. You know, it's like let's deal with the emergency or the hot potato, and then let's put you into some system that I can then deal with at a slightly later time.
Yeah. To answer the question about teams not wanting you to list, they have their own way of doing business. So if a team is hiring a specific person, a lot of times they're hiring a specific person to do this. I need additional buyer's agent, or I need an additional listing agent. So they're hiring for that kind of criteria. And then, you know, you just got to figure out what's the right fit for you. And if it's limiting you to do certain things, there might be a company, you know, that wants you to do both, right? They might want you to do list and administrative work and, you know, runner, you know, just depends on whatever.
That's a hot mess, and you need to come talk to me before you agree to work with somebody like that.
Yeah. So you'll get the same way they're interviewing you, you're interviewing them, right? To find out if this is the right fit for you too, you know? So hopefully that answered that question.
Yes, thank you.
Do you have to be there in person, or is there a way to do that remotely?
What were you referring to, Heather?
I think that kind of got answered. I put that through when she said, when you're there and you're standing out the front door, then you put up the app. It was like, well, is there a way to like do that without going there? Because like,
so you look on the in FMLS that once you find a property, whatever the criteria are as far as money, as far as price point and location and all that, underneath the house pictures, there's a little map. So you can click on that map and drill in to see which way the house is facing on the lot. And a lot of times you can tell, and some might be southeast, some might be, you know, west, and you can tell which ones to kind of take out of the list before you actually send it to the client.
Exactly.
To make sure that you're not sending them properties that won't work, because they're doing it, right? They're gonna look at their house and then they're gonna look at the map and they're gonna say, well, why did she send me this? It's facing, you know.
So how do you do that when you've set them up on an auto search? Because if that's something that you have to do manually, and do you then not put them on an auto search?
That's tough. What
I do
I've done
both
in the past is had the auto search go to me, and then I'll check it, and then I'll send out the ones that are acceptable.
Yeah, that's the concierge option on FMLS.
That's a.
So I do auto, so I'll set them up on the auto search and get as close as I can, but then I'll go into their search and manually send them, if it's daily or weekly or something, just like the top picks from me, right? So they know that I'm looking as well as the computer is looking for them, right?
Yeah. Or, you know, don't be afraid to send them a house every day or every other day, because it's proof that it's not automated and it's more personalized and it's an additional touch. Believe me, if they're in the market for homes, they're looking more than once a day on their phone for them. So sending them a home to match it once a day is not a big deal. It's not overbearing.
Yeah, they want to know that you're engaged, because then it feels like, well, why am I paying them if I'm the one looking for the house? And they're not, you know, they're only opening the door. Like, why am I paying? That builds up resentment from whoever that might be as to, you know, what your value is. And, you know, once, like earlier, we said the value proposition is kind of what sets you apart from everybody else. So
right. I mean, there were times 8-9 years ago when we were when you were getting started, Kim, that you would leave a closing table with the biggest check.
Right.
right? I
Right.
mean, the sellers weren't happy, the buyers weren't happy, nobody was happy. The only person happy was you that the deal was done.
Yeah.
You know.
And it still happens. It still happens, but not as much. How do you overcome credit issues with renters? It goes back to resources, right? So I know, like right now I have probably 2 renters with credit issues, right? So I do a couple things. I know that Invitation Homes doesn't care about credit, right? So Invitation Homes, if it's somebody that's credit is really bad, I send them there first. But at the chance that I probably won't make any money, right? Because, you know, it's a business I love, but at the end of the day, it's a business where people need housing. So if I'm not gonna make any money, why would I hold back that opportunity for somebody to get a house to be able to, you know, provide shelter for their family? So if their credit is unrentable from a perspective, I'll send them to Invitation Homes, because Invitation Homes more than likely will have a property for them that will work with their credit. And more than likely, I won't make any money. In the past, Invitation Homes would pay you like they pay regular agents, right? And then at a certain point, they stopped and they said, you know, it's house-based. So one house I send them, they might pay a co-op. One house I send them, they may not pay a co-op, right? So if I haven't established, which in most cases I do establish a fee to charge a renter over and above whatever I might get as a co-op fee, then I'll just pass them on to Invitation Homes to try to figure out the opportunity. If they
What
tell
kind
you,
of fee do you charge?
I charge $250 as a fee. This is my fee, over and above whatever the co-op might pay, just for my time and my gas.
You do that with just when you refer it to Invitation Homes or with all rental transactions?
All rental transactions.
Damn, that's smart. Why didn't I think of that 200 transactions ago?
I don't know, but I don't know if I got that from Marie Burgess or somebody. I don't know, but a while ago, I just, you know, heard, you know, another agent was doing that, and I was like, okay, cool, then I'm gonna do it. And if they go for it, they do it. And if they don't, they don't, because that's my time and my gas, especially when it was
$4
down.
a gallon.
Yeah, when it was $4 a gallon and the market was on the bottom, and you know, you had to do everything you could. I charge that fee. And sometimes if it's outside, if it's an out of town person, I'll charge $500, because there's a chance that out of town person is going to want to see every side of town to figure out where they want to live, versus somebody that lives here and says, hey, you know what, I want to live on this side of town, and I just want to see property over there. If it's out of town person and they're exploring and want to go here and there and there and there, then I'll go up to 500, you know, just to make sure I get equity out of the transaction. But
Yeah.
also, if it's Section 8, if it's not listed in the FMLS as accepting Section 8, unfortunately, it's a hard sell, and you rarely will find FMLS having listings for Section 8 people. But Invitation Homes accept Section 8, so you just got to know which companies of the larger ones are more flexible with credit. Like I think Excalibur is a little flexible with credit. Rent Progress. There's other ones. You just got to know which ones work with who, and be able to, you know, direct the clients accordingly to get them a property. Yeah.
I think the theme of the day has been resources. I say that the people that are most successful in this business have 2 major qualities. One is they're learning based and coachable, and secondly, they're resourceful, right? Are you willing,
and then
to,
I think
are you
the
willing to
advent
look it up?
I think the advent of Facebook, you know, and us getting on Facebook with the COVID stuff, and the different chats and stuff that people are in, people share those resources, you know, for different things. I think Bill, for that WhatsApp thing, I think that's all they do is share. Hey, anybody got a plumber? Hey, anybody got a, you know, yeah. So people are helpful in helping you with resources. If you don't have them, you just got to ask.
Exactly.
even if it's on Facebook or WhatsApp or whatever.
What advice do you have to what advice do you have if you had to give advice to a launching or a relaunching agent? What advice would that be?
I go back to that 30, 60, 90. And they got a 30, 60, 90 relaunch.
Yeah.
That's also available. And you can start there just to make sure you got the tools and everything you need to be successful, but also just go out and sell. I think sometimes we can get caught up in education, right? And thinking, I need to know more before I go out and try to talk to somebody. Nope. Fail forward. Go ahead and start talking to people, start making mistakes, try not to make too many, don't reinvent the wheel, and just do it. Like, do it. With wherever you are, wherever you at, do it. Whatever you don't know, there's somebody at Keller Williams that can help you answer that question. Use the resources that you have.
That's right.
In the morning.
I'm not aware of a single person that has ever died from making a telephone call.
Yep.
In the morning.
Kim, you said I'm sorry, go ahead.
In the morning, what do you look at to be prepared for the day for your market stuff? Do you look at the MLS and those statistics, or do you chart masters, or what do you look at consistently to be prepared to talk to people?
I look at MLS, FMLS. I look at, that kind of hot chart with the houses that are listed. So the first thing I do, knowing what clients that I'm working with at a time, I look at FMLS first and I see what's new on the market, because what's important right now is who gets to the property first, in a sense, because of the lack of inventory. So to give your clients a chance that the newest house is on the market, the first thing I do is see what's new on the market, right? And then I look at what just came back on the market. So I start, first at that FMLS page, that home screen, and see what's new, what just came out, and try to see if there's anything that fits the criteria that my clients are looking for, so that I can send it to them before they get a chance to kind of go through whatever email comes to them with the searches for the day. So trying to be on top of the information is my first priority, after I kind of do my yoga and walking and all that stuff to kind of set my day. But I do set goals the day before. So I'll know once I get up and kind of do the FMLS search and all that stuff, I'll know what other things I need to tackle for the day.
What's your 5-year plan, Kim? Where are we going to see you in the next 5 years? What kind of big things are you going to accomplish?
Well, 5-year plan is to have a nice boutique team, not very large, but comfortable to manage. I'll have some content creation around TV and social media, real estate related, to help expand my brand. And I'll be traveling more than working. I'll be leveraging.
I like that.
I'll be leveraging. Yeah.
You'll be providing opportunity to others.
I'll be providing opportunity. Yep. To those that want to design their life using real estate.
There you go.
Life by
Okay.
design.
Like I said, I want to be respectful of your time. You have given us more than we expected, and I believe we're all grateful for that. Does anyone else want to have a last minute question or a thought they'd like to share with Kim?
I have
No,
one more
awesome
question.
information.
Yeah, I loved it. Last question for me, when you were doing the opportunity desk, hold on. And so I signed up for it. Okay, if you can think back kind of like to your first time, the conversation when they picked up the phone, they said they were interested. Did you kind of just let the conversation flow? Or did you have kind of a certain script that you had handy for any situation? Like, which way do you handle doing the opportunity desk?
So when I first started, I used scripts. There used to be a book in the sort of like mastermind area that had scripts in it. Is it still there, Bill?
I think it's still tucked away somewhere. You give your answer, and then I'll give you the productivity coach's answer after.
So yeah, so I used to, kind of look at those scripts, in between kind of calls, but I was actually in the office, at the phones waiting for, hopefully waiting for a call in between doing work. So I would look at scripts and kind of get an idea. But I think for me, a lot of that stuff, once I kind of knew kind of what to do as far as directing them in the conversation, then I kind of got the information out of them. Because a lot of times they call and they're not sure what they want, but they might have seen a property and want more information on it. Or so you're trying to find out from them the questions that you need to ask to make sure that you get the opportunity to get in front of them. Because ultimately the conversation needs to lead to an appointment.
Okay.
That's right.
So however you can get that appointment, that's the priority. But back in the day, you had to, ask if, of course, ask if they're working with a realtor, right? To kind of get an idea if it is truly a lead. And then from there, kind of navigate the conversation, hopefully to an appointment, or provide value to them as quick as you can to understand that they might want to do business with you.
Yeah, there's, I'm going to see if I can't download them real fast and put them into this chat, but there are 2 intake sheets that I've uploaded in the past, and I'm going to attach them right now, that are definitely something I would have next to me as I am lead generating, and including being at the office, lead generating or receiving during opportunity desk time. And they're basically documents that say, here are the 15 questions that you should think about when you're courting a buyer, or here's the 15 questions you should be thinking about when you're courting a seller. And they're all designed to extract data, right? And then lead the conversation and control the conversation before you ask for the appointment. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
So Bill, you say you have those available, or are you going to post those?
They are in the Google Drive.
Okay.
Let me see if I can. I will post them, photos and docs. I will post them in the help community right now. In the help, what's in the help community WhatsApp group, I'll post those right now. Okay. Both of them are now posted.
Okay. I think I need to add to that because I haven't added myself to the WhatsApp community.
You haven't?
I don't think so.
I thought you were there. I'll double check.
Okay, thank you.
You're there. I added you. Okay. Thank you so much, Kim. Kim is a huge top performer. She's a leader. She's a giver. She probably is prior to COVID, probably spent more time in the bullpen area than any agent in our office. And even though she was paying for a private office, I think she did it because she just wanted to make herself available to help. And as the PC and as a former TL and as a colleague and ALC member, I'm very grateful for you for having done that. You probably saved all of us a ton of time, and I appreciate your contribution, and thanks for being with us today.
Thank you, Bill. All right, guys.
If you guys want to hang out, we can continue to do the launch mastermind.
Thank you, Kim.
You're welcome.
All right, I'll stop this recording.